Go pee, and I'll be right on.
Good evening.
Good evening. Do over. Okay. My name's Deborah Howe. I'm the chair of this committee, which is Traffic Circulation and Active Transportation. We're going to do a quick roll call of who's present. Lynette.
Here.
Jim Hale.
Here,
Tom Cross.
Here.
Okay. And then we have a couple of members who are not going to be present this evening. I don't have any announcements, but I'm expecting to have a lot of good information tonight. So let's just get started. Excuse me. Do we have any public comments for items that are not on the agenda? If so, could you please raise your hand? And if you don't know how to do that, you'll just scroll down to the bottom where it says reactions, the little happy face. If you click on that, there'll be a little thing where it says raise hand, and you can click on that, and then I'll know that you want to speak. Okay, doesn't look like we have anything that's not on the agenda for today. So let's get right to it. I really wanted to find out, where are the problem areas in Los Osos? Let's talk about them. I've had some people reach out to me about safety, and one of them is a senior citizen that lives in one of the mobile home parks on Los Osos Valley Road. So I'm going to do a screen share. We're going to take a look at that location, and I'm going to describe to you, if I can. Oh, it's not there. What she wants to do. Hold on. There. All right. There it is. Okay. So I pulled up a Google Maps of Los Osos Valley Road. If you're familiar with where these mobile home parks, these are seniors, it's 55 and over communities that live here. And just before if you're coming from San Luis Obispo, you approach this area, the road widens out from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, plus a turn lane in the middle. So it goes out to 5 lanes, and it's quite difficult for these people coming out of the mobile home park to make a left turn. Let's say they want to go to Ralph's, to make that left turn, because traffic is moving very fast, especially here coming off of what is supposed to be a 55-mile-per-hour Los Osos Valley Road. I think we're all very much aware that people are going much faster than 55 on Los Osos Valley Road. And as they come up this hill, it's kind of a blind hill. You don't really see over the top of it. And so people pulling out of this mobile home park, it's really difficult. And I know, because I actually went there to meet with this senior citizen. Her name is Paulette Penner. And I realized as I was pulling out how a little nervous I was, because traffic was moving very quickly. I had to pull out and cross actually 3 lanes of traffic. So it's the 2 lanes coming out of Los Osos plus the middle lane to make that left turn. So she came up with a solution, which she wanted me to talk about. And I'm going to pull that up. Are you seeing the little diagram? No. Let me do this. And I don't know if it's going to come up very well. Hold on a second. Here it is. Okay. So maybe I can turn this around so we can see it better. There. So she basically suggested that we take the 2 outside lanes and make them into bike lanes over here where the entrance is to the 3 mobile home parks. There could be a sidewalk for scooters and walkers and so forth, and then a bike lane. And then you would just have a single lane of traffic, plus you'd still have this middle lane for turning. So that was her proposed idea. And I have no idea if the county would accept such a thing, but I thought it was kind of a clever idea. And if anybody has a comment or wants to speak to this, feel free to unmute yourself.
I have a question, Deborah. So is that first lane with sidewalk, wheelchairs, golf carts, sort of a protected path? Or is it just the sidewalk? Is she envisioning a curb and gutter sidewalk?
I don't know if it should be protected in my opinion. What's there right now is a bike lane. So there's a narrow bike lane and then there's a third, there is a 2 lanes of traffic going east. And she's essentially taking over one of the lanes of traffic and converting that into the bike lane and then sort of allowing room for turning. So, you know, I don't know that an engineer would actually go for this idea, but it's something to start talking about. And I did actually speak to the county about the safety of these senior citizens. And so they went out and they looked at the situation and they said, well, you know, if you're going 45 miles an hour, which is what you're supposed to be going, then there is really enough distance to see, you know, somebody coming out of one of these parking, not parking, but mobile home parks. Of course, we know people aren't going 45 miles an hour. They're going faster. And what they did do, the county I'm talking about now, is they put a speed signal up showing how fast you're actually going. I know for myself, I've seen people going as fast as, you know, 60 miles an hour. As I'm driving by, they're going 60 miles an hour. So I don't think, and what's cool about it is that then they slowed down when they saw how fast they were going. That, of course, is a temporary speed monitor. We might be able to get something permanent there where it would always show how fast you're going so that people could, you know, adjust and rate their speed. Anyway, this is a topic for discussion. I think, Jeff, you had your hand up. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, just as a brief comment here, we know that County Public Works is going to be doing an LOVR corridor study. This is a very important component, but I don't think we're going to get any traction or any interest to go do a special thing here until they've actually done their study. I think, you know, ideas like this can be tabled with them, but I think we'll be spinning our wheels a lot since they know they have that, you know, in the offing.
Jeff, of course, you're 100% right. And what I hope to accomplish here is to start making a list of these problem areas so that when it comes time for the county to do the study of Los Osos Valley Road and they come to us for our public comment, for the community input, we're going to have our list ready of these are the areas where we have concerns and we feel that need to be addressed in the study. It's either Dave or Bev. I don't know which one, but you go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, it's Dave. Can you hear me?
Sure. Yes, we can.
Yeah, you don't have to go to the senior mobile home parks to have this problem. All you have to do is try to get out of the post office. And there, the traffic is only moving at 35 rather than 45 plus. And so if anybody's ever tried to turn out of the post office, the same challenge presents itself because you've got the same 5 lanes wide with cars coming fast. And as far as the county saying that there's plenty of room to see somebody coming out of one of the mobile home parks, the people on the road have the right of way anyway. So it's the person that's trying to get out that's got the problem of being able to see. Anyway, I agree with Jeff. They're going to be working on this probably and won't want to do anything at all. But part of the problem with the speed through town is that it opens up into 4 lanes plus the center lane after having been a 2-lane road for so long, and then it squeezes back down again. So people just feel speedy on the wide part of the road. That's all I've got to say.
Right. That's exactly right. People do feel speedy because they feel comfortable going faster when the road is wide. And we don't have to look very far, just a little ways up from the post office is Ralph's, where you have this very nice median, beautifully planted now, thanks to Celebrate Los Osos, where you're protected if you want to make that left turn. And so you actually can, and medians have been shown to do what's called traffic calming, CALMING, calming. So it slows traffic down when the road becomes a little more narrow. And that median certainly does that. And I suggested to the county that we could perhaps put medians there so that they would have protected turn lanes when they come out of the senior home park, but they weren't going for that idea. However, it doesn't mean we can't still talk about it. And one of the things that I think they could and would do is restripe the turn lane in the center there, because the lines are very faded. And so, it just looks like 5 open lanes, quite honestly. So that might help a little bit. So that's one thing. Any other comments about the Los Osos Valley Road near the senior mobile home parks? Okay, let's talk about safe routes to school at Baywood Elementary. So I try to monitor social media, and I saw comments on social media next door about people traveling too fast at Baywood Elementary. We have 2 streets there, 11th Street and El Moro, that are called collector streets. That means that they're used, for a lot of traffic, and people drive too fast there. It's just the truth. And so this is something that I've talked to the county about. They were supposed to add 1 block of sidewalk. 1 block of sidewalk obviously isn't going to solve our problem, but that project got put on hold because they found some endangered snails. So even that didn't move forward. So let's talk about this situation. Does anybody want to make some comments about the Baywood Elementary safe routes to school? You can unmute yourself. Chantal, go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. Just trying to figure it all out. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Chantal. I do live on 11th Street, and it is a super busy road, and I live between the street of Santa Isabel and Santa Maria, which is kind of the route you were just talking about.
Mhm.
What I've noticed is that right where I live, the speed is allowed to be 35 miles an hour, which I think is just too fast, to be honest. Especially being so close to the school. I'm only 5 houses away from Santa Maria Street, which is the corner of Baywood. All other streets that are around Baywood, so there's El Moro, 8th, 11th, even a couple others, but even past the Robles, which is 1 block up from 11th, they all have a 25-mile-an-hour zone there, or say when children are present, you should be going this speed. So I do think it's an issue. One of the things that I think would help would be possibly a marked pedestrian crosswalk, because on the Santa Maria side of 11th, there's nothing. It is sort of a hill there, so I do worry about the kiddos. And maybe even a crosswalk that has some of those lights when you cross, like the one that's on the Sis Valley Road, kind of across from, grocery outlet and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And beyond the children and going to school, Santa Maria takes you all the way down to the Bay. And it's a very popular route for people that are walking, going to the Bay, going to the farmers market. So I just think it's a place that we should kind of put our time in there.
Yeah. Thank you, Chantal. And I'm in agreement with you on all of that. So I've thought about this a lot, because I used to live over near there, and I used to walk on Santa Maria and walk around the school. And so I'm going to add my comments to yours. One of the things about the signs that say 25 miles per hour when children are present, let me tell you, children are present at that school all the time. After school, during the summer, I go there a lot and I see children there. So there should always be a lower speed limit there, in my opinion. The other thing is, as you have already said, Santa Maria is really used a lot for walkers. I walked it a lot, and it takes you right to the farmers market on Mondays. And wouldn't it be cool if that street were a one-way street between 9th and 3rd Street, where you would actually be able to safely walk from the school all the way down to 3rd Street, and there would only be traffic going in one direction. So that was a solution that I talked to the county about. I didn't get very far, but that doesn't mean I've given up. The other thing that's possible, and I'm thinking about at El Moro and 11th, where those two intersect, think about how all the middle school kids are coming off of the bike path and they're coming down on El Moro, right? And then you have all this traffic, and then you've got crossing guards trying to control the kids crossing. What could help there is what's called a mini roundabout. It could be something, it doesn't have to be very big, but it would be in the middle of that intersection. Maybe the elementary school kids would paint it with something really bright colors. But it would force the traffic to slow down, because they would have to go around that little obstacle in the middle of that intersection. And again, this is a form of traffic calming, where it really tells the drivers, okay, you have to slow down because there's something here that is making you change how you drive. So these are ideas that I think we need to bring up to the county, and also to SLOCOG. SLOCOG is the Council of Governments, and they're in charge of safe routes to school. So, Any comments about that? Chantal, you still have your hand up, so I can't tell if you have more to say or if you just forgot to put it down.
I don't want to speak in front of Jim, but I wanted to say that I love your idea of a one-way for Santa Maria, and I've actually thought the same thing. So I'll
Good.
be on board with you if you need a supporter.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Thank you. Jim Hale, did you have something you wanted to add?
I just wanted to second and echo what Chantel started off with. 11th Street is hilly. There's a lot more bicycle and pedestrian traffic there than I believe the county is aware of. And 35 miles an hour with those rolling hills is really too high. And I urge that we bring to the county's attention the need to lower the speed limit, at least down to 30 or 25 on that street. Yes, it is a collector street. It's a thoroughfare street, but it is hilly and there's no shoulder. There's no sidewalk. And you have people on bikes and walking on that street with the hill obstructing the view from the other direction. So it's very dangerous for pedestrians and bike, but they use it. So I agree with Chantel. Let's see if we can get that speed limit lowered, please.
Well, thank you, Jim. And I have to tell you, I went to a PTA meeting and the teachers there told me that they can't even get volunteer crossing guards because it's so dangerous that the crossing guards don't want to work that intersection. So that's not good. Anybody else who wants to make a comment about the Baywood Elementary School? Dave or Bev? Go ahead. Dave, you need to unmute.
Okay. It's Bev this time. That's why it took me so long to figure it out. I just want to say that I agree with Jim that there should be lower speed limits on 11th, but I just wanted to say that I think before each of the hills, when you can't see, there are, I think, 25-mile-per-hour signs. And particularly as one goes closer to the school, there is definitely that, but you already know that. But that's a start, but I think they need to do more than that, obviously. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Bev. You know, and I think the real difficulty is you can have a speed limit, just like we have a speed limit coming into Los Osos, it says 45, but that doesn't mean people are going to drive 45. It means that they're going to drive what they feel comfortable driving, right? And so if you create an environment where they're going to feel, oh, I have to slow down, like I suggested with a roundabout or something like that, or a median, then it sort of takes that, you know, then they drive the environment is what I'm trying to say, and not necessarily whatever the posted speed is, because we know people aren't necessarily going to obey the speed signs. Any other comments? All right, let's talk about safe routes to school for Monarch Grove Elementary, another one of my favorite subjects. Those of you who've been attending these meetings know that our highest priority right now for active transportation is to create a bike and pedestrian path from Monarch Grove Elementary School at Doris to Palisades, the community center. There's no safe route to school. There is no safe pathway for people to get to the community center. And one of the very disappointing things is that there is a bike lane on Los Osos Valley Road, but it's not usable if you're going from, say, Pecho Road to, let's say you're going to the community center. The bike lane on the right-hand side of the road is not usable because there are cars parked there. And there are signs say no parking from 8 in the morning until 8 at night, but that doesn't make any difference. there are cars parked there at all times. So if you're on a bicycle and you want to get to Monarch Grove, or if you want to get to the community center, you must ride in traffic with the cars because the bike lane has been taken up. So, you know, building this pathway is not going to be easy. It's going to cost money, but that doesn't mean that it's not still our first priority. But sometimes I wondered what would happen if they changed how they striped that road, and instead of having a huge, very generous bike lane on the south side of Los Osos Valley Road, if they would take half of that space, put in a normal sized bike lane, which would be, 4 feet, and then take that extra width. And I think there's about 10 or 12 feet there that they've allowed now for parking those cars, and move it over to the other side. Now, all of a sudden, we would have a lot more room, and we would be able to perhaps build something on the north side of Los Osos Valley Road that would allow people to walk and bike. Any ideas on that? Any comments about that? Do you want to take a look at the Google Maps? I don't know if it will really show that very well, but I could pull it up perhaps. Let's go down here. So we're talking about here to here, right? And in this same area on this side of the street, there's a big wide, I want to look at that, but well, I'm sure you've all seen it. There are cars parking there. And so, but it's a bike lane. This is so important for this school. And what's cool is that on the other side, if you were to look going towards the community of Sunset Terrace, there's a beautiful sidewalk. There's a big wide bike lane. It's great access for anybody coming from this direction over here. But if you're trying to get from here to there, or say you live up in this neighborhood and you want to get to middle area and their kid rides their bike to the middle school, oh my gosh, it's a nightmare trying to get, there's no safe way for these kids to get to the middle school if they're on this side of town. Any comments? Anybody want to make any comments about that?
Well, me,
Okay, Miss Lynette.
I guess I will just say it's a question of money. I'm sure when those housing developments were put in, they were required to pay for sidewalks. And these other areas were not required to pay for sidewalks. So it's just a question of money more than anything, I bet.
Yeah, no doubt. So the CSD had a meeting today. Oh, Jeff, did you want to make a comment? Go ahead.
Yeah, it is money, but I think what I'm really starting to learn is there's a lot of grant money for these type of things that the federal is pushing down to the state. There's a whole lot of new programs there. We got to have our act together and be able to articulate what we want. But it is a little bit surprising to me that just how much money is out there for the taking to implement these type of projects. And I know we've always heard we got to wait for development, it's development fees and that type of thing. And we still are going to have a hard push. But I actually think we have a much better chance in this day and age with some of the stuff that's coming down. Even this new infrastructure bill that, I forget, one of the people were saying, they got so much money there, they haven't even figured out how they can dole it out.
Yeah.
And if we can put together an articulated reasoning for this, I think we got a pretty good chance of at least funding most of it. Anyway, it's a thought.
That's right. There is money, but you have to, as has just said, you got to have your act together. So we have to really know what it is we want. We have to know what it's going to look like. We have to get something planned and designed. And it's not just on the federal level. The infrastructure bill is a huge one, but also on the state level, because the Governor Newsom just signed into law a law that says all counties and all cities must develop active transportation plans, and they must allow for pedestrian and cycling. And so, there's a mandate here that the county must do this. And so we just need to figure out how to help them to do it. Lynette, okay, go ahead.
Well, like the dog park that the CSD is trying to do, we're waiting for our community plan to go through the Coastal Commission. Everything's kind of based on, if you don't do this other kind of habitat conservation plan that's quite expensive, we have to wait until we get our cheap one through our community plan, which will take care of getting rid of having to mitigate for the snail. So it's definitely the time to plan, but we also need to get a entity to write the grant requests and be a real entity. I mean, we're kind of like a nonprofit kind of thing, and I don't think we can do it. So we've got to convince someone else, like the county.
I think the CSD could do it. I do.
Maybe.
I think they could do it. I think they could represent it.
Well,
if we had our
the
act together, I think we could go to the
Yeah.
CSD and say,
approach Ron Munns.
I will. Lindy, you have your hand up. Go ahead and unmute.
Good evening, everybody. I think it's a fabulous vision to have that north side of LOVR made into a complete multiple use trail. And I think what I just heard was that we really need to have a grant writer. We need to have kind of a design of what we'd like, collaborate that. I mean, you've done a great job already putting the ideas together, but get that so it looks like a reasonable plan. And then maybe we need to see if we can raise funds to get a grant writer that will step in. And then I think the county should be helping us to say these grants are available. We shouldn't have to go out and do all the work. They are receiving all that information. And then the CSD definitely could be a co-partner to the whole idea. So I think if it gets proposed, again, kind of a visualization, maybe have somebody do an architectural rendering to show what it might look like. I mean, this is the stuff that the county does in order to get us to fund, bonds and stuff for these things. Maybe that's where we should put some focus on. Many good minds and, even just a meeting to fine tune that, and then start looking for a grant writer that might be able to do it pro bono. But really define what the grant opportunities are. But I think the idea that this money is coming down is an idea that means we need to get our act together to go for it. And
yeah, agreed. Tom, did you have your hand up?
I did. Just briefly, I agree a lot with what Linda said, that if we write the grant and then just ask the school board or the CSD, hey, can you send this in? We've already written it. That could be a very easy option for those bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, no. I think that's exactly the approach that we need to take and that we are going to take. Anything else to discuss here on Los Osos Valley Road? Anything that you want to bring up before we move on? Okay, I have number 4 on the agenda as the intersection of Ramona and 4th Street. And I think I will go back and pull that up on Google Maps. You just give me a moment to get that set up for us here. And so the intersection I'm talking about here is right here, Ramona to 4th Street. So if you're sitting here on Ramona and you want to make that turn and you just don't know who's coming around that corner, it's pretty scary. It is not a good situation. The county knows that. They want to change this intersection. I'm not exactly sure what they have in mind. Maybe they don't even know what they have in mind here. Something about maybe straightening this out, making this into a 3-way. I don't know. But one of the things the Active Transportation Committee has talked about is creating a pathway off of Palisades that would connect here to 4th Street, that would allow people to get from the community center down and into Baywood proper safely. And in order to do that, we're going to have to deal with this intersection. So I'd like to really open it up for a conversation about what people would like to see happen there on that intersection to make it safer. Any ideas? Tom, go ahead.
I like the obvious answer, just straighten Ramona up to go straight into the other Ramona and then bring Palisades up as just a normal, regular 4-way intersection of Palisades and 4th, Ramona and Ramona.
Okay, Chantel?
I don't know if I have a solution for the traffic, but I do like your idea that you're talking about of connecting Palisades to Ramona, as you're saying, just like a walking / bike path, correct? Okay. Is that property owned by the county? There?
No, this is a private property owner, and we have already reached out to them and started a conversation, and they're agreeable to looking at allowing a pathway to go across their property and connect here. And one of the cool things that's happened just recently is there is now a new pedestrian access in through, not bikes, but pedestrians can go through Sweet Springs starting here.
Yes, I saw that. Okay, that's very cool.
So that makes it safer for people walking. Of course, you can't walk your dog there, but yeah, we would like to get a safe pathway for pedestrians and bikes to get through all the way down to, let's say you wanted to go to the farmer's market, or if you wanted to go get a sandwich at the, High Deli or something like that. And we want to make that really safe and easy.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool.
Jeff, you have a comment?
Yeah, on this particular one, obviously it makes sense. We want to all straighten it out and make it make sense. We got to also, I think we're going to have to leave it to the county or some traffic engineers as to what their ideas are. If people are really familiar with it, as some people are saying, well, let's just straighten it out. Are we willing to take out those 75-year trees that are right along Ramona? There's this trade-off that, we're trying to keep our community, I guess, have the same atmosphere and feeling. And my guess is it probably wouldn't be super receptive to go take out a whole bunch of those trees lining Ramona so that the street can be straightened out. You
What
know, I'm
about
not
a
a traffic,
roundabout, Jeff? Could you
well, yeah,
envision a roundabout there?
you know, maybe that is the solution. That's why, you know, I'm not a traffic engineer. I think we identify it as a problem. The county knows it's a problem. It's identified on their community plan as a problem area that they're looking to get development fees for, you know, to help fund it. That needs to be fixed. But I don't know that we can come up with a suggested best idea for them to run with. I just think we have to highlight it as we agree. We identified it in the community plan as a problem area. You need to come up with a solution, traffic guys. And also the fact that the community plan does identify some sort of a trail from LOVR in that general area to connect in down there. All that is part of it. They just have to come and, you know, share some of their ideas. And I know one of our later subjects is going to be this Safe Trek thing. Frankly, I think we're going to get a lot of watershed out of that. Just for this, we're going to get some smart minds on a lot of these problem areas, and a lot of people won't like it. The county may not like it, but at least we'll have some traction to be able to start sorting through some of this.
Yeah, I did invite the county to be at our meeting tonight, and they were not inclined to attend. So, but that doesn't mean that they won't get this information.
Right.
All right, let's see. I don't know who was up next. Lindy?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I think a roundabout there would be perfect as a way to save the trees and to, you know, everybody kind of slows down right there anyway. But I like the idea of a roundabout there. That seems like a perfect solution. And that connection pathway is brilliant. That is what is missing. There are other ways to take paths and so forth, but that property in particular does not have a trail from Ramona and Fourth to connect with Palisades. So whatever we could do to convince the owner to let something like that come about, even if it's sand, it's a beginning. So I love that idea. Thank you.
There have been suggestions actually by the Audubon Society that we come off Palisades and connect to 5th Street, and then we come down 5th. So I haven't really looked at that, but I know they've talked to me about that. So
well, and
we
they
might do
own
another
the
walk.
property. They own the property that's right next door now, as far as I've been told. Audubon inherited it.
This property?
No, the next one, between Mobile Morrow Shores and that property. So that it's a little bit more distance, but if they own it and we're willing, that would be another way. Be a lot further.
Okay, Dave and Bev?
It's Bev again. I think it's a fabulous idea, the path and anything that could make that possible. There is along 4th Street up in that area, a wider place to walk, at least already there, not for a bicycle, but for pedestrians. The problem I see is that it's going to be a long time before this can get done. And in the meantime, that intersection is so dangerous, and somebody else mentioned that earlier. And when you're going south on 4th and you're up at the top of the hill, you can't see what's coming from the east on Ramona. And I've gone up that hill and almost been crushed by a delivery truck going through really fast toward Morrow Shores, and people cannot see. And we desperately need stop signs on the other two entries to that intersection. And it's just not safe at all. So for anybody. So that's, I think, number one thing to do. And I think all the other suggestions are really solid. So that's my input. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Bev. So you're suggesting signs on Ramona as it comes into the bend there that would say what?
Well, either a stop sign or a warning sign. There's no warning sign coming, going west on Ramona. They just barrel through, and you go up 4th Street at that intersection, you know, saying a few prayers as you go. And, you know, the people who are going east on Ramona just sort of sit there at the stop sign they have and watch it, you know, and see what's going to happen. So there are 2 more signs, at least stop signs or slow signs or anything that warns of the danger.
Yeah.
Because some people who've never been there don't know that there's traffic that won't stop.
Yeah. No, you're right. I know. And I sit there and I like, okay, do I make a run for it? If you're on Ramona. Okay, who else? Let's see. Jeff, did you have another comment?
No, I forgot to put it down.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. And Lindy, did you have another comment? No? Okay. All right. So I'm going to get away from this and we're going to go to, all right. So I know Jim Hale brought up an issue with South Bay Boulevard. Who doesn't want to talk about South Bay Boulevard and how dangerous that road is? So Jim, you want to go ahead and talk about the South Bay Boulevard issues?
Sure. My suggestion to you in terms of another intersection that I thought was dangerous may not be in our jurisdiction, but it is when you are traveling northbound on South Bay Boulevard and wish to turn left into the state park, whether you're going to go towards, say, Bayside Cafe or up towards the golf course or into Morro Bay. There's the southbound traffic on South Bay Boulevard is coming around a curve. Oftentimes it is speeding, and I've seen numerous accidents there. Typically the traffic heading southbound will crash into the traffic turning west into the state park, because by the time you are ready to turn, the cars are coming around too fast. And the way that the road is designed currently is that as you're turning west into the state park, the way the turn lane sets you up is you're actually turning too far north onto the road and you have to turn back a little bit. And so just that intersection, as I see it, is really messed up. So that's my point. Thank you.
And Morro Bay is aware of that as well. And I think we do need to coordinate with them and bring that, you know, it may not be a Los Osos problem. It could be a Morro Bay problem, but it's still something that we can talk about. And so I'll reach out to Morro Bay and start that conversation. The other place where there's a lot of dangerous activity is on South Bay Boulevard and Torrey Road. We get a lot of cyclists on South Bay Boulevard. They don't have any protection whatsoever. And sometimes they want to turn on Torrey Road, because if you've ever been on Torrey Road, it's a, you know, windy country road, perfect for cyclists, not a lot of traffic. But to turn onto Torrey Road off of South Bay Boulevard is super dangerous. Cars are traveling really, really fast. They've got no protection. Jim, do you want to comment on that? Because I know that's something you're really familiar with.
You know, it's not too bad if you're turning off of Torrey Road as a cyclist and going north, or especially if you're going north or going south towards Los Osos. It's more difficult if you're traveling south on South Bay Boulevard and wish to turn towards San Luis Obispo or east on into Torrey Road. So that's where it's difficult and as a cyclist. So that I don't know what the solution is. I know that they have in the works to widen that road, put in a new bridge, and put in a wider cycling path or a dedicated cycling path. So that might change, but I do agree with you that that intersection is difficult for cyclists at times.
Yeah, it's interesting, of all the roads in Los Osos, the county ranks South Bay Boulevard as the most dangerous road. Yet if you look at their capital improvement projects for Los Osos, they don't have South Bay Boulevard. They put Los Osos Valley Road there. And it's sort of a disconnect for me, because if we recognize that South Bay Boulevard is the most dangerous, then why aren't we having that be one of our priorities as far as a capital improvement project? Dave, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that in the Traffic and Circulation Committee in past years, when we were looking at the priority list that the county had, they had on there making all of South Bay Boulevard from Los Osos Valley Road to the bridge, 4 lanes. So the county was thinking about it, thinking that we needed to have a wider road there to accommodate development in the future. The Traffic and Circulation Committee did not think much of that, with the idea of a narrower road is going to have some traffic calming effects possibly, but wanting to have 4 lanes that went nowhere out there would be the same kind of effect as we have on Los Osos Valley Road heading out towards San Luis Obispo.
Interesting. Okay, any other comments about South Bay Boulevard? All right, and I'm going to go on to our next thing that I want to share with everybody, and that is this. And if you did not receive a copy of this and you would like one, let me know, and I will make sure you get a copy of this. So this committee has worked with the San Luis Obispo Council of Governments to improve safety in the streets of Los Osos. And one of the things that's happened is that we've been able to attend a forum that was put on by LOCAC, and it was using this Safe Trek, which really comes out of UC Berkeley. And they have excellent information, a lot of resources there. And one of them is this safety assessment. They will come in and they will do a safety assessment in your community at no cost. And they will do a full report. They'll come into the community, they'll talk to people, they'll talk to the county. I'm just going to scroll through this. The experts conduct phone interviews with the local agencies. They'll schedule an in-person site visit. They review all the safety data and crash data and discussions with the local agency staff, a list of intersections and roadway segments with the highest rate of crashes, and so forth and so on. And they'll come here and they'll do an assessment, and then they'll do a report that will show where the dangers are and possible ways to improve them. So they give you suggestions. So, oh, somebody just showed up. I'm going to let them in. So suggestions to be included in capital improvement projects, suggestions for pedestrian and cycling master plans. And this is exactly where we are at. We are at a place where we need this type of information so that we can go and create our active transportation plan. And then we can move forward on getting the grants, just like Lindy was saying. Well, if we have everything dialed in, then we can go get some grant money to actually make it happen. So the deadline's coming up in January. We don't want to wait that long. I'm actually thinking, well, let me back up for a moment. So when this came across my desk, and Jeff Krebs, I have to give him credit for this because he really looked into it and talked to the people at Safe Track. I took it to LOCAC. We did a vote by the entire council. It passed unanimously that we should move forward on applying for this assessment. And I think that we should ask the CSD to do it with us. What do you think, Jeff? Does that sound like a good idea?
Well,
Or should we just send it in ourselves?
Well, we can, I mean, you can certainly reach out to the CSD and see if they're willing to be co-sponsors, if you will, or co-writers. Clearly, the folks at Safe Track are going to want to have a list of stakeholders, and CSD clearly is going to be one. Obviously, the county is another one, which we were having a little challenge with, but I think now at least we got a name commitment to help to be a resource. But it doesn't hurt to have another co-sponsor. You know, talking with them, we're considered. It's kind of funny. They wouldn't be able to do this for a group of residents. They have to have a local agency, and that's kind of an amorphous kind of term that they're using. And LOCAC does qualify, as I described what LOCAC is, but they're also going to need access to information to be able to do the thing. And we're a group of residents. So, you know, we do need some resource that they have to be able to tap into. So, you know, I'd certainly support them, give them the opportunity to co-sponsor the application. But if they choose not to, I wouldn't want to wait and then find out they've run out of money, because I think now different communities are catching on that these grants are there. And if you recall, we tried to get into the, I think it was the pedestrian active transportation one last year. We thought about it and we were trying to figure it out. By the time we decided, you know what, let's try to do this, they were done. Money's out. We'll talk to you next year. And so I don't think we want to wait, but a co-sponsor wouldn't hurt at all.
Annette?
Well, I'm not sure if the CSD has any kind of a mandate on this. They do water, they do fire, they do drainage, they do certain lighting districts in the area. And that's all they're mandated to do. That's all they can do. So maybe they could support us, but I don't know if they could sponsor us because it's just not in what they do.
Well, I don't know that, you know, sponsorship is kind of an odd word. It's just, you know, as support, as a stakeholder within it. When you talk about drainage, actually one of my big issues with pedestrians and bicycles, we got a terrible street drainage system. And when you look at the community plan, from a traffic standpoint, the Public Works says it's cosmetic problem and they deal with it. Well, I don't know how many days or weeks it takes them to clean stuff up. That's impacting pedestrians and bicycles. So that would be, if you're talking about what is their scope of responsibilities, it'd probably be the drainage angle. But if nothing else, just being a stakeholder would be helpful. I don't think it's meaningful one way or the other, whether they're truly sponsors.
Lindy, you have a comment?
Yeah, I kind of think the CSD is looking for other projects. They have Parks and Rec, and they did do the walkable trail between, I forgot, back behind the community center area there. There's now a connection. And so I think partnership, and I think Ron Munz and the Parks and Rec group would be very happy to at least support you know, getting this assessment done so that we can combine projects even. I mean, the dog park has a ways to go still. So anyway, I think it's a great idea to partner with them if they're willing.
Okay, so I'll reach out to Ron Munns. As Jeff said, we don't want to delay this too much. We want to get in there early so we can get, we can get the funding if we can. The application is not complicated. It's pretty simple. So, and as I've already pointed out, LOCAC has already voted on the council to move forward with sending in this application. So I'll see what the CSD has to say, but I won't delay it too much. I just want to make sure that I didn't leave out anybody who wanted to make a comment about some other area in Los Osos that they feel is perhaps dangerous or unsafe, or any other comment that somebody wants to make on that subject. We're all good. Patrice, I think you came in a little bit late. So if you have any questions, now is the time. Let's see, Jeff.
This is Patrice.
No, go ahead, Patrice.
So actually, I came in late. I kind of wanted to see your presentation based on Paulette's work about Los Osos Valley Road, but I missed it. But I guess I can watch the recording later.
Yes, you can.
But this part's really interesting to me too, so I'm just listening.
Okay, great. Okay, Jeff, go ahead.
I think the other thing, whether it's problem areas or not necessarily, or it may be an extension to what we look for on Safe Track. I went back to look at where the California Coastal Trail is still mapped to be done through our community, and it is mapped to go through the community. What was a little surprising to me, it's mapped a whole lot less than it was a year and a half ago. In other words, they pulled stuff away. So somebody within Parks and Rec is networking with the folks that are making that design, but they definitely have certain components that look like they're going to be the prime ones down by the golf course, a whole lot of ways to get into the state parks. Elfin Forest was kind of interesting. There's a spider web around there. The other one actually is Sweet Springs, seems to be the defined one. And then they've used dotted lines. Now they're showing where it used to be solid, but it's needs work, as I think is the definition, to go from Sweet Springs into the Baywood Central area. And they do show that Pasadena area being beach access all the way around there. Anyway, that's a long way to saying that may be something else that we want to either accentuate as needed to have a good look at in this study, and we can do that later, or it could be considered one that we want to look at as problem areas, potential problem areas, because more pedestrians are going to be considered there.
Okay, good idea. All right, problem area. Yeah. So when we talk about the coastal trail, Jeff, is that really up to the state or the county, or would the CSD be involved with that, or
No,
is it a joint effort?
No, I don't think it's CSD on how it's going to get mapped. And to be honest, I don't know exactly how the authorities go, but I do know they've got this trail that they're trying to map from the very northern part at the Canadian border down to San Diego, and it's very well defined, I think, through Morro Bay, and it was quite defined through our area. And I walked all those paths about a year and a half ago, just trying to see what it would have been like. But I did notice as I went back to see, well, where are they at this point? And it's changed quite a bit. I actually think it's Pandora is the connection person within Parks and Rec Trail that is networking, or at least she was a year and a half ago. But I actually don't, CSD I don't think would have anything to do with that.
You're talking about Pandora Nash?
Yes. And that was the person before, and I assume it still is.
He still is.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm a little surprised they're not networking back with LOCAC or somebody in the community to say what's going on, but I guess we really haven't had a
Maybe I
lot of,
need to reach out to her.
well, that or Parks and Rec, because it comes through Parks and Rec, whoever our Parks and Rec person, why we're not getting that kind of communication, but
Okay. I'll reach out. Yeah, you know, you're right, Jeff. That's something that should be coming to LOCAC. We should be talking about it. I'd love to talk about that at LOCAC. Coastal Trail. So important to have a vision and you know, sort of make a plan, because as wonderful as that would be, it would create problems, right? And so we all want to maintain the character of Los Osos. It's very special. But at the same time, we want to be able to share what we have with people coming in. And obviously the Coastal Trail would bring people in. All right, well, that's what I have on my agenda. The next month's transportation meeting is on December 20th, which is again on a Tuesday. I don't think Trish can come on Tuesdays. I may need to change that to a Wednesday. Does anybody have a problem if we moved it to the 21st? Okay, so I'll check in with Trish and see. But she has something she does on Tuesday nights and I just forgot, and so I don't want her to not be able to participate. And by the way, Meg Siphon is not on the committee anymore. She's dropped off, but she's still very interested in what we're doing and staying involved. She's just not going to be a committee member right now. Okay, Jeff.
I'm getting this figured out on this Zoom
You're
stuff.
doing great tonight. You're showing up. But I
Yeah.
love your picture, by the way.
Well, I don't know where that picture came from, but anyway, that's fine. This is not off topic, but it's kind of part of trying to understand traffic and stuff on LOVR. I reached out to the supervising law enforcement ranger with state parks and tried to find out what kind of visitation that they're experiencing these days. And interesting enough, they do daily counts. It's crazy just how, I won't call it precise, the way that they do it. He did give me essentially a rack up of their daily, or it's rolled up into months. What was surprising, and he's got to go back and look, he isn't sure if he's giving me vehicle counts or if he's giving me, they may have extrapolated to how many visitors is that. So I'm still looking to get that information. But just as an FYI, order of magnitude, it's quite level summer versus winter. You know, the numbers we were, you know, he's showing whether it's cars or visitors. And if it's cars, we're going to see twice as many because they're going in and they're coming out. But is about 50,000, and it's, you know, plus or minus 5% over the year. The campers do change. It's a lot heavier camping, obviously, in the summer months than winter, but I just thought that was kind of interesting, and it's not super, I actually don't know if it's visitors or vehicles, and that's going to be material to Los Osos, but he said he was going to try to investigate that a little bit more.
You're talking about into Montana de Oro?
Correct. So we're, yeah,
Wow.
so I'm, you know, I used to hear it. Yeah. Well, the county does put those rubber things down and does traffic counts every once in a while. They're kind of questionable
right.
on some of that. And this would help kind of track that. But every day they do a morning and an evening count, and they have some sort of a formula that they figure out, you know, what they think that meant for the daily visitors. It's just, we're not sure if it's vehicles or visitors itself on the table.
All right, well, as soon as you find out, let me know. I'm
Yeah.
very interested.
Yeah, I was interested. So yeah, I'll let you know.
Great. Okay. Does anybody else have any other comments, questions, concerns? Something they'd like to see on the agenda? All right, well, I thank you all for your participation. If you want to reach out to me for any reason, you can find me at my LOCAC address, deborah.locac@gmail.com. Okay, thank you. Have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you, Deborah.
Great job as usual.
Oh, thank you, Lindy. Okay, bye-bye. Oh, Tom, you're sweet.